أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد اللهم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين يا رب العالمين. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the blessings, peace be upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his household, his companions, and all those who follow him until the day of judgment. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Today, inshallah, we are coming to the last part of the book of fasting in the Madhab al-Hanafi. Nur al-Idah والشيخ Imam Hassan Shurumbulari rahimahullah. So today, inshallah, we are coming to the Babu ما يلزم الوفاء به من منذور الصوم والصلاة ونحوها. Fulfilling one's promise or fulfilling one's the vows, such as fasting, prayer, and other acts. متى يلزم الوفاء بالنذر? When is one required to fulfill his promise? The promise in general is important for us. Whenever we promise something, we should fulfill it. And in this case, we are talking about fulfilling the vows and the good actions that we are promising for God that we will do. إذا نذر شيئا لزمه الوفاء به إذا اجتمع فيه ثلاثة شروط. If a person vows to perform good deeds, if a person promises to perform good deeds, then he or she must fulfill what he or she promised, provided three conditions are met. So there should be three conditions in order to fulfill the promise or the vows that you give. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, let them fulfill their vows in Surah Al-Hajj. And the Prophet said, whoever vowed to obey Allah, then he should obey Allah. And whomever vowed to disobey Allah should not disobey him. That is very important for us. So as long as there is the sin, we should reject it and avoid it as much as possible. ثم قال الإمام أن يكون من جنسه واجب وأن يكون مقصودا. The Imam says, rahimahullah, the act one promises or the vows is to be from a category which is wajib, obligatory, such as fasting. You can vow or promise the fasting because it is wajib or fard, like prayer and hajj, sadaqah, zakat. So this means that a person can make a vow to observe fast and prayer, since prayer and the fasting in essence originate from the wajib or the fard category. So it is okay to vow. وأن يكون مقصودا. Number two, the primary actual act itself must be specifically intended by the person, not the prerequisite of the act. For example, one cannot promise to make wudu because it is prerequisite. So you cannot vow or promise that you will take wudu because wudu is shart or condition or prerequisite of the prayer. You cannot pray without wudu, so it does not it's not valid to that kind of vow. ثم قال الإمام وأن يكون ليس واجبا. Number three, the act that one promises must not already be required of a person. For example, one cannot promise to pray the noon prayer, Zuhr, because the Zuhr, it is already compulsory, it's fard to perform. So there is no need to vow and promise that you will pray Zuhr or to pray any other prayer, because it is obligatory upon us to fulfill it without vowing from our side. فلا يلزم الوضوء بالنذور. One is therefore not required to perform wudu if he promises to do so, because it is not the primary act. Rather, it is the precondition for prayer, and other acts of the worship. So it is not valid in that way. ولا سجدة التلاوة, likewise, a person is not required to perform the recital prostration or sajda if he vows to do so, because it is already necessary. It's over there. No need to vow, I will do sajda, because sajda is there. ولا عيادة المريض, one is not required to visit the ill if he promises to do so, because it does not originate from the wajib category, as I mentioned. ولا الواجبات بنذرها, promising to do acts of worship which are already required is not valid, because they are already imposed on the person by law, by the Sharia law. No promising, I will pray Zuhr prayer, I will pray, no, I will fast, I will go to the Hajj. That does not make sense, because these things are already obligatory, no vowing in them. ويصح بالعتق, one's vow is valid if he promises to free a slave, for the reason that it is compulsory to do so in event of kafara or expiation, or paying fee, where once is required to free a slave, in our days paying the debt of the والاعتكاف, if a person vows to perform religious retreat, i'tikaf, or seclusion, then the vow is valid. In that one may perform, it is like promised act, since it's originate from the wajib category. والصلاة غير المفروضة والصوم, vowing to perform a voluntary prayer or fast is valid, but not vowing right now in the month of the Ramadan, because fasting in Ramadan is obligatory there, but voluntary fast extra is valid, extra prayer is valid, extra sadaqah is valid. And once somebody promised these acts, so they become necessary upon that person to perform. And equally, like sadaqah or charity is also included in that category. فإن نذر نذرا مطلقا أو معلقا بشرط ووجد لزمه الوفاء به, which means if a person vows a general unspecified promise, general, such as saying, for example, I swear by Allah that upon me is 2 rakat of the prayer, okay, then he is required to fulfill this promise or the vow. If, on the other hand, one attaches a condition to a promise, such as, if Allah grants me a child, I shall, feed 10 people, for example, then he is also required to fulfill the vow if the condition or event occurs, such as a child. If there is no child, then there is no vow, there's no need to fulfill it. So, but if you promise that you will pray, like general swearing by Allah, will pray 2 rakah, so then you pray whenever is a chance there, so it's okay. حكم من نذر صوم العيدين, the ruling of one who vows and promised to fast the 2 days of Eid. As we mentioned before, these 2 days, Eid al-Fitr and Ayyam al-Tashriq, are haram to fast, unlawful. الإمام said وصح نذر صوم العيدين وأيام التشريق في المختار ويجب فطرهما وقضاء. Promising to fast both these the days of Eid as well as the days of Tashriq is valid, so it is okay, and this is to up to view of the matter, so that it's correct. If you fast these days, the fasting is acceptable, but you are doing thing haram, and it is necessary upon you to break the fast during these days mentioned and make up these days later on, because the Prophet ﷺ said to us, prohibited fasting 2 days, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha. It's prohibited. So he said it's day of joy. So there is no need to make the vow or promise on these specific days. Avoid them, because it is not okay. You're doing good deed, and the same day, the same thing, same time you're doing haram thing. So do not combine between two. It is okay to fast. It will be acceptable, but it is required from you is to break these days uh, and make them later on. وإن صامهما أجزأه مع الحرمة. If, however, one keeps fast on these 2 days, Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Tashriq, due to their woe, it is valid, though it is unlawful and it is haram. So combining good and bad, which should be avoided. ما لا اعتبار له في النذر وما يجب اعتباره. That which is disregarded in a vow, and that which is binding. وألغينا تعيين الزمان والمكان والدرهم والفقير. So these things, the factors that are not binding and disregarded as being part of a vow are specification of the time, place, as well as a specification of dirham or specific money, or a specific poor person. So these things we should avoid. As long as we mention these things and there is another chance to do act, we should do it. We should not wait for these four things, because it is not acceptable to have specific time, place, and specific money. Like for example, oh, I will give to somebody this pen, but only this. But if I have another one, for example, let's say this is dirham. Let's say this is dirham, the money. So I will give this as to the poor person, but I don't have. But I have another, and then for some instance, I have the other one. So if I give this one, it's okay because it's sadaqah. In general, sadaqah is okay, and the condition is not valid. So on that case, for example, if one was to donate a particular dirham, specific one, or to feed a particular poor person, so one is not obliged to donate that particular dirham. Should not be that one exactly the same, or to feed the particular poor person, since these specification in a promise are not binding. They are not required, though the act itself must still be carried out. So we have to fulfill our promise and our act, and forget about the specification, the timing and the place and the person. So that is how we should act on that. For example, فيجزئه صوم رجب عن نذره صوم شعبان. So for example, if someone promised to fast the month of Sha'ban and instead he fasted the month of Rajab, it is valid, for the reason that the promise to fast is the objective. That is the objective, to fast. It does not matter the specific month as mentioned. So if he fasts before a month, it is okay because the objective is most important. So the actual month is not required to have arrived, and because one did not wait, one did not wait for the month to arrive, so he has benefit in the rewards, which may have been missed in the event of death or the other reasons. So the objective is there, and it is okay. وتجزيه الصلاة ركعتين بمصر نذر أداءهما بمكة. If a person promises to perform 2 rakat, for example, in Mecca, and instead he prayed them in another city, here in America, in Bowling Green, it is valid, it is permitted, because the pious act is achieved. The objective is there, not the place where it was carried out, because you may never go there and pray. So you just use this opportunity. وتصدق بالدرهم عن درهم عينه له. Promising to give sadaqah with a specific dirham, specific money, but instead donating different dirham is valid as well, due to the pious act. Again, the pious act, because the pious act is achieved, and because specifying the particular dirham or the money or is not considered as being part of the law. So most important that your act that you're doing is achieved, and that is the objective. والصرف للزيد الفقير بنذره لعمر. If a person promised to feed or to assist a person named, for example, Omar, and instead he gave the sadaqah, or he helped or fed the person named Zaid, but he said Omar. So the vow and pious act is valid as well, because the meaning of a pious act is involving in sadaqah, and it is to satisfy the need of the poor. So the objective is there and the act is there. It does not matter the difference of the ashkhas or the people. وإن علق النذر بشرط لا يجزئه عنه ما فعله قبل وجود الشرط. If one makes his vow conditional, such as saying, for example, I swear by Allah, if I regain sound health, I will give sadaqah, which means the promise of giving sadaqah is based upon the condition. So if there is a health, they must be fulfilled. No health, then no dua. So then it is performance before the arrival of the condition does not suffice, since the vow is linked with the condition. You link it. For example, if I got a child, I will feed 30 people. So if there is a child, so then it becomes immediately automatically upon me to fulfill my vow and feed 30 people, because there is a child. There is a link. So link is connected. So then we have to fulfill our promise. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of us to bless us and to increase our faith, to accept our fasting, and to guide all of us, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this Ramadan special for us, for our souls to grow up, inshallah, and to go out successful from this month of Ramadan. And I hope, inshallah, to see you on the Monday, on the first day of Taraweeh. And this Tuesday is first day of fasting. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatuhu ta'ala wa barakatuh.